The epic adventure spanning massive continents, where millions of players band together to fight hideous monsters, dark armies, and of course, each other. Even now, one of these heroes prepares to venture out of his garrison to smite the forces of darkness. Here he stands, ready to embark upon his epic quest.
Actually, big guy, I got the followers working on all of that. I think I'm just gonna crash here and I'm gonna let them take care of all of that. Thanks, though.
What about massive coordinated raid bosses? There are great evils in the world that must be put down by your mighty blade.
Whoa there, buddy guy. That sounds like an awful lot of work. I mean, hell, do we even still have an LFG channel? I'll just queue up for LFR. We'll see what that does.
But don't you wish to travel to a battleground and smite the Alliance dogs? Perhaps liberate Ashran from their disgusting control? Come now, where's that For the Horde spirit?
Well, I mean, I could, but I get honor from my work orders coming out over there, so what's the point? I'm just gonna kick back and do some fishing. Yeah.
But why not go to War Spirit? Recount tales of your grand deeds of honor.
Yawn. I mean, where even is that? I don't remember. That just sounds boring.
So you're telling me you're just going to sit around and let your followers go on epic adventures while you do nothing?
Yeah, well, when you put it that way, it sounds like I've got a bunch of imaginary dead-eyed Oompa Loompas playing the game at my own expense. Ooh.
Yeah, that does sound pretty stupid. I have always been a firm believer that the only game that's ever going to kill World of Warcraft is World of Warcraft. That's pretty much the only one that's going to do it. And really, they're getting around to it. They've been doing a really good job recently of getting that game nice and in the ground. You can really see this in subscriber numbers. They've lost 3 million subscribers in 3 months. That is larger than the population of some cities. That's classified as genocide. But what is the reason for this great exodus, this emptying of WoW, this abandonment? Well, everybody's going to give you reasons. Guys like Burning Crusade vets are going to say the content's too easy. Some people are going to say there's not enough content or the arena seasons are being handled poorly. Some people think pandas, and some of those reasons are more valid than others. Fucking panda bears, you didn't fucking bamboo-eating motherfuckers, go back to Pandaria. But I don't think it's any of these things. I think it's something a lot more insidious and something that affects the player base on a much deeper level. And that's what I came here to discuss today. In my silly internet videos. That's why I come here. I come here to learn some stuff and laugh. And then tell me how wrong I am in the comments. But let's start this discussion by closing our eyes and thinking back. I want you to imagine your fondest memories in a multiplayer game. Whether it's World of Warcraft, whether it's some other MMO, whether it's fucking Counter-Strike. I guarantee that fond memory you're thinking of happened with people. I'm pretty sure nobody's got fond fucking memories of killing 10 goddamn bears for the same fucking farmer to get a fucking green piece of gear that isn't even an upgrade. Now, I'm willing to bet that that memory you're thinking of right now happened with your friends, with your guild, with people you met online. It might be people you don't even know, but it happened as a social event. Maybe it was a raid, maybe it was a dungeon, maybe it was just something you fucking did in the world, but it was with other people. That's what made it engaging and memorable. Now, it doesn't apply to everybody. There's some people out there who really likes playing World of Warcraft alone, and I don't quite understand you people, but that's just me. I'm sure most of you were thinking of a time you spent with your friends. Well, I'm gonna tell you a secret. Out of the 2 M's in MMORPG, the second one is the most important. And a lot of people from before World of Warcraft knew that really well. That's why a lot of content was geared towards players working together, as opposed to what it is now, something that's seeping into the genre. But I should probably go into more detail, because right now I sound like a crazy person. Now, I'd like to introduce to you a concept that I have invented myself to describe this kind of phenomena, and I call it the Borderlands theory of game design. Have you ever played Borderlands? It's actually a pretty good game. It's really enjoyable, and a lot of people have fond memories of it. The writing is really good, the world is really interesting, and the multiplayer is really fun. But have you ever played it alone? Now, the writing can carry this game, but when you play it alone, the gameplay mechanics are actually pretty boring, especially after the first couple of hours. It's just the same shooting. The only difference is it's spread out over a whole bunch of stupid quests, and it gets super boring. Now, when you add additional players to it, it's a lot of fun, especially when those people are your friends. You can have a lot more fun playing Borderlands with more people. This concept spreads to a lot of games. Think of games like Left 4 Dead. Playing Left 4 Dead alone is not that interesting. Playing Left 4 Dead with 4 people is really cool. World of Warcraft is no exception to this rule. That's right, the secret ingredient to making a bad set of terrible game mechanics into a bad set of terrible game mechanics that everybody loves and has 12 million subscribers at some point is people. Human beings to interact with. That's why the second M in MMORPG is the most important. Also, I guess the O is important too, because it's hard to be multiplayer when you're not online. But that's not really the case anymore, because there's a new game in town, and that game is accessibility. Accessibility! Do the content you want, when you want to, without needing to put in a huge investment. You want to do a dungeon? You could do a dungeon right now. You want to go do a raid? Go do a raid right now. Press a button, you're in, bam, boom, bam, raiding. Boom! But isn't accessibility a good thing? I mean, allowing people to pursue the content they want to without having to put in a huge investment, that's a good thing, right? Well, there's kind of a downside to this, a little bit of a side effect to this massive accessibility, and that is that World of Warcraft is slowly becoming more and more of a single-player game. That community engagement is no longer reinforced by the game mechanics, because you can just queue up for a dungeon or queue up for a raid and immediately complete the content you want to complete. Garrisons are even worse. They take you out of capital cities and keep you out of the world. They allow you to complete everything that normally you'd have to go out and engage with other players to do, in that things like crafting and things like going to the auction house, things like going to a city, and they do it alone in your garrison. You never have to leave your garrison. You can just queue your dungeons and your raids out of the garrison. You're just sitting there all day and never fucking leave. That's bad too, especially in a massively multiplayer online game where you're sitting alone in your fucking garrison. And as more and more features are geared towards solo completion, more and more players will play the game as a single-player experience. They'll continue the questing in, and they will never really join in or form relationships with the players around them beyond superficial relationships in dungeon queues or battleground queues. And this is poisonous, because people don't stay playing an MMO for the content. They stay with an MMO because they have friends there, because they have a group there, because they have the guild there, because there's people there that they like to play with. And if you don't incentivize playing with other people, you're going to lose that retention. I know it's really easy to fucking complain about shit on the internet and then not provide a solution, so I've come up with Matt's patented 3-step guide on how to make World of Warcraft an engaging experience again. And it doesn't mean making additional content. Let me begin. Step 1. Up until this expansion pack, we were pretty sure that once something was put into the game, you really couldn't go back on it. But you've all proved us wrong. When you removed flying mounts, it was a big deal. It was something you thought would be better for the game in the long run, and you were right. Even though you've re-implemented it with the new achievement, I think it's the right way to do it. It's a really good way to make it happen. And that's good. You've shown us that you can remove something. So now if you want more community engagement, you have to do something for me. Take out the looking for raid tool. Now, before you get out your pitchforks and torches and call me some fucking WoW hipster from Burning Crusade era, just needs everything hard, don't take out the difficulty level. Keep that easy mode, story mode, dungeon in. But don't let it be a matchmaking service. When you make something into a matchmaking service, you remove any player engagement that could ever form within that service. And raids should be the most engaging part of your game. They're this section of the game where you have to rely most on your friends and your teammates. If you relegate that to matchmaking, it takes that entire section out of the game and turns raids into boring, monotonous slogs. Take out the looking for raid matchmaking tool, re-implement the difficulty level as story mode or something, and put it back into the game under the looking for group tool that you have now for heroic raids and normal raids. Step 2! Focus more content on group exposure. I like the group dailies were a good idea, but Apexis was pretty worthless until the last patch, and really there was not much of a reason to do it. But make more of this content group-oriented. Maybe make stuff like Burning Crusade era group questing zones or things like that, where there's long chains that require a good-sized group. Maybe even a raid to complete. It's going to incentivize guilds to do this, and it'll be really cool. Really cool to play with people again in the world. And additionally, keep things like challenge modes and dungeon and mythic dungeons outside of the looking for dungeon tool. Keeping them away from that is going to make them a lot more engaging in the long run and provide a much better reward for them. You can do normals and heroics as standard dungeons and allow them to matchmake, because nobody wants to matchmake while you're leveling. But when it gets to that end game, where the game begins, the focus should be on engaging people as a community in these events. So group quests, group dungeons, all of that stuff. Oh, step 3. For the love of God, get rid of the garrisons. The garrisons tear people clean out of the game and put them in their own little microcosm where there's no social interaction whatsoever. The crafting system was broken through the garrison system. All of this stuff was broken. People stay out of capital cities, even the little fucking tent city you call the capital now, outside of Ashran. You have effectively torn apart the community using garrisons. And you knew this was going to happen back in 2012 when asked about player housing. You were worried that, like looking for Dungeon, which was fairly new back then, it was going to tear people out of the world. That's why you didn't want to move forward with it right away. And then a year later, you announced the garrisons. Get rid of the garrisons. And if you have to replace them with something, do something like Guild Wars 2 is doing with guild halls. Create a hall for a guild that's got all these useful features in it. The guild comes together to build collectively. It could be a whole new progression path. That would be really fucking cool. You could go out and like have raid boss trophies that your guild has killed in your hall. You could go out and find like items that help build rooms. Like your guildmates could go out in the world and like go get resources to help build rooms for your thing that give them benefits. I think it would be a really cool concept as opposed to the garrison, which just lets you sit alone in your garrison and do nothing. All in all, I think addressing this issue is the biggest thing for any MMORPG. If it's becoming a single-player experience, that's not good, because a lot of the core systems in a lot of MMORPGs are the same. And if you let those core systems be played alone, you get Kingdoms of Amalur. And while that game was good for about 3.5 hours, after that you're like, there are 75 fucking quests, and all of them are the same goddamn pointless, boring bullshit. It's not a fun game. The Borderlands theory states that if you bring people into it, though, it will be fun. Make it a cooperative experience. The big focus now shouldn't be on shiny new content and big single-player experiences. The big focus needs to be on teamwork and bringing people together in World of Warcraft and any MMORPG. Because if you don't bring people together, they're going to realize how alone they are. Without meaningful relationships and a reason to stay subscribed, they will leave. Because nobody wants to be alone in the world. Or I'll just go play fucking WildStar or something. Yeah! Thanks for checking out my video here. It's something that really means a lot to me, so I thought I'd make a video about it. And yeah, you guys liked it. Hope you enjoyed the experience, and I hope that even if you don't agree with me, that you can see where I'm coming from, or at very least you found the video funny, or whatever. You know, post some fucking comment about how I'm wrong. Whatever. Doesn't even matter. I love you all. Now, for a little while here, we've been kind of really seeing some fucking crazy growth, and most of that's come from the WildStar videos I did a couple of weeks ago, so I'm assuming you guys like MMOs a lot, which is good, because I love MMOs, so expect a lot more of this kind of content coming in the future, if you know what I mean. So thanks, everybody, for coming in and subscribing and liking and commenting. Even the people who are being dicks, I love you. You guys are all awesome. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. You all have a good one.